Hey guys, we're here for our next session, staking for dummies. Everything you need to know on the basics of staking. And we have JK, strategy and operations from StakeFish, and I'll let him take it from here. But before he starts, let's confirm you can actually hear him. JK, do you mind saying something? And
Yeah.
can you guys
Hello,
confirm?
everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. All right. So yeah, before I begin, I just wanted to thank Sinju for putting together this wonderful conference. I've attended the first one that she has put together. Oh well, and a huge thank you to all the people that have helped her out as well. I've been to her first conference, and this is the second one, and it's pretty awesome already. But yeah, as let me then dive right into my slides here. Give me one second. Awesome. All right. So today, I wanted to talk about staking, as my title. Yeah, it's quite obvious for my title here. But I wanted to primarily focus on the real basics of staking, and I wanted to first dive into a little bit about the reason why I've put together such a presentation before I dive into some of the materials. Um, some of you might have already seen these headlines pop up, but you could see sort of see networks like CeeLo, Polkadot, Solana coming on headlines, including Ethereum 2.0, which will use proof of stake. So there's a lot of interest around proof of stake in the blockchain ecosystem, and there have been multiple talks provided around proof of stake. Even this own conference, the first of its the one prior to this conference was actually all about proof of stake. And so I assume that a lot of people would understand proof of stake pretty well at this point. And I've tried engaging some of my crypto native friends and some of the DeFi enthusiasts on what they thought about staking and what they wanted to learn more about staking. Well, I was very surprised to learn that not a lot of them still understood how staking worked, how they could stake, where they could get more information, and what they should research. And so I've come to the conclusion, and I've realized that most of the talks that I've been giving, and some of our industry peers have been giving, have been too focused on the validator's perspective, the proof of stake perspective, from the developer's perspective, who are actually creating these blockchains. So I wanted to take a step back and walk you through on how I approach to learn staking on new networks. For this presentation, I'll be primarily focused on Cosmos and Tezos, and provide you with some tools that I've used to learn more about how staking works on each of these networks. And my hopes are that giving these this framework, that you as potential stakers will be able to use this knowledge, this framework, to further analyze future proof of stake networks and engage in staking yourself. So I won't dive too deep into proof of stake, but very roughly, what is staking? As you all know, proof of work was used in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it's very extremely energy intensive. The recent stats tells us that Bitcoin accounts for 0.37% of the entire world's electricity consumption, which is a significant amount. So there was an alternative energy efficient approach, proof of stake, that was developed. On proof of stake, rather than using computing power to determine who gets to add and verify blocks, we use tokens staked to determine who gets to add and verify blocks. And yes, I just wanted to add, notably, Ethereum, the second largest network, is planning to migrate to proof of stake. So let me walk you through the basic flow of staking, how the interactions work. On the blockchain, the main people that are interacting with the blockchain directly, the equivalent of miners in the proof of work space, would be validators. The validators are running infrastructure that run the blockchain software and are verifying and creating new blocks to the blockchain. And the probability of them adding these new blocks will highly depend on how much tokens they have staked. Well, interestingly, the validator does not need to acquire all the tokens. They could get delegations from other token holders. And so you can see here from number one, I wanted the first key term I wanted to share was delegating, where token holders are able to stake their tokens with a validator. They are not giving up their ownership. This is key to note. They are just simply lending out the token power, the staking power, to a validator. And with the staked tokens that are provided, the validator uses that to increase their probability of interacting further with the chain, and will receive staking rewards in exchange. And while the validator will keep some of the staking rewards, most of it will be passed along to the initial delegators, the token holders who have staked. And of course, the validator will take out a small fee for operating the validator infrastructure. And let me share some key terms on around staking. And I won't go through delegators and validator. I'll just go to validator fee. So again, there's going to be a small service fee charged by validators to delegators because validators are not only operating the infrastructure, they're also they're also hiring the key people to run these infrastructure, and we spend a lot of time doing research and have developers working around the clock on putting on monitoring systems. So therefore, in order for a validator to operate, validators do need to charge a small fee. The next key term I want to share was the staking ratio, which is the percent of circulating tokens on a network that are being staked. There's also something called slashing, which is a penalty that is enforced on validators who have acted against the best interest of the network. And finally, another key term to remember is the lockup period. Some proof of stake mechanisms will require these stake tokens to remain frozen for a period of time. And so therefore, once you engage in staking, you will not be able to move your tokens to another address, and you'll need to wait for the lockup period to end. So let's just start off right away from to look at some of the staking parameters on Cosmos and Tezos. The current staking ratio on Cosmos is 72%, with the current staking ratio on Tezos being 79%. The staking reward rate is 10% on Cosmos and 6% on Tezos. The reward frequency, so on Cosmos, for every block, rewards will be distributed out to stakers. But on Tezos, these rewards will be distributed out every cycle, which is approximately 3 days. There's, of course, some slashing risk, which I call risk here. On Cosmos, you could lose up to 5% if your validator does something called double signing, meaning basically which is almost the equivalent of just calling it double spending. And on Tezos, you as a staker will not lose anything, but you will lose out the rewards that you should be receiving. And on Cosmos, there's a 21-day lockup period, while on Tezos, there are none. I've run through all these numbers, but you have to be wondering, like, how did I put all these numbers together? And honestly, as long as you have this sort of this snapshot of each network, you could confidently say you have most of the basic knowledge down regarding staking on that network. And so I'll walk you through some of the tools and processes I've used to pull these numbers out, and so that you would be able to replicate this on any other network. So let me go into identifying the key resources then. So I've grouped these up into two large tools, two large categories. One is, say you want to directly engage in staking. What are the tools that you could use then? Of course, there's wallets and web interfaces for you to directly stake. There's step-by-step guides, which you could use to learn how to interact how to use these wallets and web interfaces. And then there's reward trackers and dashboards to understand how much you're receiving in staking rewards. The next category I've grouped up is just tools, resources that will help you understand the staking economics on a network. There's the basic knowledge base, which will include the white paper, developer documents, and the code base itself. But there are also a more real-time information provider like explorers. This is a recent trend, but there are also some teams that have built out interactive calculators that abstracts away all of the knowledge base related stuff, and you could just simply move around some levers to estimate out how much staking rewards you will potentially receive. So let's dive right into the first category. And as I walk through some of these tools, I'll be just showing you real time how these tools look, and what key information that you could pull out from them. So there's most of the wallets today that support proof of stake networks have staking incorporated in their applications. So it's not hard to find to interact with them on mobile wallets. But there are also a lot of widgets that lets you stake using your hardware wallet. A good example of this is Looney on Cosmos. So let me see. Yeah, okay, it shows up here. All right. So if you go into Looney, which is a web application to interact with the Cosmos chain, you could see you could log in with your Ledger Nano right away. I won't be logging my Ledger Nano for now, but you could see that you could just simply sign in using your Ledger Nano, and let's see what sort of actions you could be doing on Looney. If you look at validators, let's search for StakeFish. You can see it will let you stake and unstake. Let's click on stake. Once you have your ledger logged in, you'll be able to actually stake, sign, and then just fully engage with staking just by having your Ledger Nano logged in here. And more importantly, on Cosmos, you could vote on on-chain governance, of course. And let's see if Looney lets you do that. It does. There will be these are all proposals that have passed previously, but if they are during the voting period, you could see that you could have clicked on the vote button, and you'll see probably a similar prompt letting you interact, vote yes or no on a governance proposal using your Ledger Nano. So that's a rough explanation on Looney. Now let's take a look on the other end and on Tezos. Trust Wallet is one good mobile wallet that provides staking right away on their application. But there's also, interestingly, Ledger is, as we're all aware, if you use Ledger Nano, you probably have Ledger Live downloaded on your computer. And Ledger Live actually supports staking right on their application. And I'm just showing you their explanation here, but I'll show you a video in just a minute. So these are not the exhaustive list of wallets and web interfaces that will allow you to interact, that will let you stake. There's a lot more, but just try out different ones, and you'll find the one that really works for you, sticks with you from a UI UX perspective. Now, obviously, if we want to, even if we do have these mobile wallets, these web applications, we might still not understand. You might still struggle on how to interact with them, and it's pretty easy to find step-by-step guides on how to interact with them. Let's start off by looking at Cosmos Station's user guide for their mobile wallet. Cosmos Station is one of the mobile wallets available on Cosmos, and you'll see they have a pretty comprehensive documentation of how to interact with different commands on their that you could input on their wallet. But for us, what we're interested in is the delegate option. You can see it's pretty detailed. It will walk you through step by step on what you need to click in order to successfully stake. They would explain how you could unstake, undelegate, or restake. So yeah, there's a lot of these step-by-step guides for most of these wallets, and it's really a simple Google search to find these. But let's say you're not really following these written instructions, and you want something more interactive like a video. And companies like us, what we do is create videos for people to learn how to stake right away. This is a video of staking using your Ledger on a Ledger Live. So you can see, not just us, but a lot of people try our best to provide. We realize it's not easy to understand how to stake, even when a wallet or a web interface is very intuitive. That's why there's a lot of step-by-step guides, and just try to find these, and then you should be able to then successfully stake with any wallet or web application. Then let's move on to understanding then trying to look at tracking your staking rewards. So these tools are primarily created by validators to help their delegators because staking rewards can be subject to tax. And for tax purposes, you'll need a line-by-line itemization of how you've interacted with the blockchain to earn staking rewards. And as an example, on the Cosmos side, Dokia, for their delegators, have a pretty nice tool to for any of their delegators to see. Let's just give it a minute to load. Yeah, to see how much reward they've received. And here's the line-by-line item of how the delegator has interacted with this validator. So for tax-related purposes, you could just print this out and then report this to an accounting firm to make sure your tax life gets easier. And I just wanted to highlight also Baking Bad, Tezos reward dashboard, which is even slightly more interactive because it shows you for every cycle if the validator has provided the right amount of rewards to you. And so this is a good way to audit your validator if your validator is providing the right reward amounts. So these are the three primarily categories of tools that I try to find when I'm trying to engage with a proof of stake network. Now let's go into trying to understand them. Starting with the knowledge base. You could go to white papers, you could search for developer documents, you could search for code bases. But quite frankly, if you're not technical or if you're scared of huge paragraphs with a lot of words, these will not be helpful. Therefore, I recommend trying to find these high-level summaries provided by some of the validators like Chorus One and Figment. And even then, even if these are too complicated, feel free to ask any questions on the blockchain project's Telegram group or Twitter. People are very helpful, and they will try to help you direct you to the right resources to help you understand how the proof of stake was designed and intended to function. And then to look at the real live staking related parameters, you could search for some of the explorers. And I'd like to just touch on TC Statson specifically as an example. This is a Tezos explorer, but interestingly, what they do is they go very deeply into analyzing how well the validator has performed. You could see how much balance they have, how much people have staked with us. You could also see how well we've performed. As an example here, you could see, oh, we've baked 106% more than we're meant to, and you could see how many staking rewards we've received in cycle 227. I really recommend playing around with this tool to better understand how the performance of a validator, And by the way, I'm skipping through a few of these links for the purpose of time. I will share these slides, so please feel free to click on these links to further engage and learn more about these tools. And I'll go to the final category of tools that I want to share today, which is staking reward calculators. A huge shout out to stakingrewards.com, which have tried to abstract away a lot of what you would have to do manually to calculate staking rewards. If you go to stakingrewards.com, and as an example, if you go to Tezos, go to calculate, you can see they have a default parameters input and shows you how many staking rewards you could receive yearly. But you could play around with this anytime. Say your baker charges only 4%, you're staking 2,000 Tezis, you're compounding rewards. You could play around with all of these levers to gain a better understanding of how your staking rewards would change depending on each parameter. So these are the tools that I try to identify for each network to better understand how their proof of stake works, how I can stake with them, and how to monitor their real life staking related parameters. And before I turn over, I answer some questions. I just wanted to discuss some of the frequently asked questions that I've seen from at least our community members. And starting with which validators should you choose? And there's a few questions that I've outlined here that you should try to find answers to before choosing your validators. And then also there's a quick table where I've tried to categorize how these what sort of validators exist out there. There's of course the exchange. There's professional validators, but even amongst professional validators, there's two large groups. There's the protocol developers and there's pure infrastructure providers. Protocol developers are ones that will be focused on a select few chains. An example of this is Cryptium Labs, and then pure infrastructure validators would be pretty diversified and will support different networks. And then of course there's individual validators. To give a one-liner on which sort of category you should choose for your validator, if you really want to go for ease, go with an exchange. If you want to really support a network and support teams that add more value to the network, go for a protocol developer. If you have different tokens across different proof of stake networks, go for a pure an infrastructure validator. And if you really value decentralization, support an individual validator. Next FAQ is, should you pursue high staking reward rates? There is no golden standard for what the staking reward rate is. But I caution against always pursuing networks with high staking rates because it could put downward pressure because there's a lot of tokens being released on the out on the market. And also, high staking rate really doesn't matter at the end of the day if the token price collapses. So there's a lot of factors to consider, and you should not just look at a network simply at the staking reward rate of a network. Another frequently asked question that we get is, what can stakers do about slashing risks? There's, in my opinion, there's three large options. One is recognize that there is no reward without no risk. Just eat the risk and just move forward without any risk hedging. Another is you could get insurance on slashing, but there are yet no live solutions to provide insurance on slashing just yet. But the recommended way I suggest is diversifying your validator set such that if any of the validator gets slashed, you only get slashed a portion of the tokens that you have staked. And the other interesting question, final question that I get asked a lot is, should I run my own validator? And there are only two questions really to ask and answer for this. Are you experienced in running servers? Are you an infrastructure engineer? If not, please use a validator. If yes, then my next question is, are the costs of running your own validator, would that be lower than the fees you pay a validator? If not, again, use a validator. If yes, why not give it a try? And your peer validators we welcome you with open eyes. Just make sure you have done your cost analysis correctly. And yeah, so that brings an end to a very condensed intro on staking. If you have from the delegator stakers perspective, if you have any questions, of course, reach out to me on Twitter. Also, we operate a Telegram group where we're pretty active and we try to answer a lot of questions coming from our community members. I will share these slides. There's a lot of good links that I've skimmed through that I feel would be very helpful for you guys. And yeah, I think I'm ready to take some questions. Let me see. All right. Let me walk through some questions. All right. Here's one. As a staker of Cosmos, I use StakeFish over Cosmos Station because of StakeFish higher rate. How can a StakeFish give us a higher rate? So that's a good question. It's not that StakeFish is our validator is providing a higher staking reward than other validators. It's just that we have a slightly lower, probably a lower fee than another validator. The staking rewards provided by the network is always fixed. Validators are not, other than perhaps if the validator is performing pretty badly, they will be receiving the similar amount of staking rewards across different validators. Next question is, do you make money from providing staking service, and how? As I mentioned during my third slide, I believe, is because stakers, token holders will not be able to run their own infrastructure. They will need to go through validators by delegating. And once they do that, before the rewards are provided to the stakers right away, the validators will be receiving a small fee. A small portion of the rewards that token holders will receive as staking rewards. So that's how staking services are making money right now. Another question is double signing common? It's occurred both on Cosmos and Tezos. That's all I could say. And Cosmos, it's occurred at least even before the annual anniversary of Cosmos. So it happens. It's not common, but it happens. And remember, it's 5% in the case of Cosmos, 5% slashing if you double sign. So if any of the big validators get slashed, that's a big issue. And quite honestly, it's quite impossible to fully hedge away any slashing risk. So I just caution that because it's not common, it doesn't mean that it will not happen in the future. All right. And then there's, let me answer this question. Why should I not just stake with an exchange? Which is a great question. So there's two reasons I could give. And actually, I've also posted a video about this on our YouTube channel. So one is because you want to help decentralize the network. Any of the networks that are launching now, decentralization is a key. And if a network is not decentralized in the long run, I don't see any value occurring to that network. And so therefore, you ideally want to make sure that you have a lot of independent validators and that validator power is not centralized to one exchange. The other is that exchanges will likely not be able to stake all of the users' funds. Because keep in mind that exchanges will need to keep a set amount of tokens in cold wallets, and then also a set amount of tokens to fulfill daily withdrawals. And so you will not be able to get the 100% staking efficiency by staking with an exchange. So those are the two reasons.
All right, I think we're done. Thank you so much for the really great talk. So we're going to transition to the next session now.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sinju.
All right, thanks. Bye.